Sad Christ is a weak quash. Shalom. Sad Christ. Rock, present yourself.
Barak ban Yahweh ban Yasha'Allah.
Barak ban Yahweh ban Yasha'Allah.
Yahweh ban Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatham.
Yahweh ban Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatham. Yeah, I thought about it. Yeah, it's a lost life. It's been a long day.
La Yasha'Allah.
Christ, he could uncover the scroll above the show. And with that, I say Amajim, which means to stand. Walk ben Yahweh, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer first in Hebrew. Repeat after me. Abanau, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, SHALAM, Yahweh, Malakavka, Daba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, I.S.U.P.K, Baratza, Kowah, Hayah, Bashemayim, the thunder now, will come, Ka, Yawam, Wasalaki now, Kawawati now, Kasalaki now, Kawawati now, Wala'ah, Fabi'ai now, but it's say one, above, I was shine out, Mayan, Right, Kaya, Lakab, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Watapar, Aman,
And in the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
We're going to say, cut the power, Yahweh,
by Hashem,
Yahweh Shah, Baba Kashah, the thunder now, Hakak, Larpa'ah, Kalmakalah, Wakalmatawat, Hakak, Latahar, Hamatazarayim, Hakak, Lahakwi, Hamathwi, Hakak, Awakawa, Latama'ala, Lagarshan, Bashem Yahushua, the water Aman.
And in the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh, please give us the power, the power to heal, all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the leper, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, in the name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it.
Once they bless Israel, Yahweh,
Ba'Hashem,
Yahweh Shah, Barak Lanau, YAHANNA, Wahabayah, Sapari, Barak, Rapap, Magun, Bashem Yahushua, the water Aman.
And in the English, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh, bless us, and Israel, and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahweh, thank you. So be it.
We'll say Psalms 121.
Asha,
Ayanya, Al-Hahari, Ma'ayan, Yaba'ah, Izari, Ma'an, Yahweh, I.S.U.P.K, Shemayim, Wa'arataza, Ayathan, Amawat, Regalka, Ayanawam, Shamarka, Hanak, La'ab, Yanawam, Wala'ab, Yahishun, Shawamah, Yasha'Allah, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yamyaka, Yawamam, Hashemash, La'ab, Yashima,
Yashima,
Athnapashka,
Athnapashka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashima,
Yashima,
Taza Athka,
Taza Athka,
Wabawa Athka,
Wabawa Athka,
Ma'aitha,
Ma'aitha,
Wa'ai Awalam,
Wa'ai Awalam,
the Wada Aman.
the word Aman. And in the English, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
I will lift up my eyes into the hills.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence cometh my help?
My help cometh from Yahweh,
My help cometh from Yahweh,
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee
He that keepeth thee
will not slumber.
will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Israel
he that keepeth Israel
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee
Yahweh shall preserve thee
from all evil.
from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in.
and thy coming in.
From this time forth
From this time forth
and even forevermore.
and even forevermore.
So be it.
So be it.
We're going to say Psalms 83. Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Al-Damayalaka,
Al-Damayalaka,
Al-Thakarash,
Al-Thakarash,
Al-Tashakwat,
Al-Tashakwat,
Al, Kayahanna,
Kayahanna,
Awayabika,
Awayabika,
Yahamayawan,
Yahamayawan,
Wamashanayaka,
Wamashanayaka,
Nasha'awa,
Nasha'awa,
Ra'ash,
Ra'ash,
Al-Amaka,
Al-Imaka,
Ya'arayamba,
Ya'arayamba,
Sawad,
Sawad,
Wayatayaitazawa,
Wayatayaitazawa,
Al-Tazapawanyaka,
Al-Tazapawanyaka,
Amawa,
Amawa,
Lakawa,
Lakawa,
Wanakakina,
Wanakakina,
Magalia,
Magalia,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Yazakar,
Yazakar,
Sham Yasha'al,
Shem Yasha'al,
Iwad,
Iwad,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Nawaitazawa,
Noah Itazawa,
La,
La,
Yakadwa,
Yakadwa,
Alika,
Alika,
Baryat,
Baryat,
Yakarathwa,
Yakarathwa,
Ahalia,
Ahalia,
Adawam,
Adawam,
Wayashima'alia,
Wayashima'alia,
Mawa'aba,
Mawa'aba,
Wahagaria,
Wahagaria,
Gabal,
Gabal,
Wa'aimawan,
Wa'aimawan,
Wa'aimalak,
Wa'aimalak,
Palashah,
Palashah,
Amyashabia,
Amyashabia,
Tazawar,
Tazawar,
Gum Ashawar,
Gum Ashawar,
Nalawak,
Nalawak,
Imam,
Imam,
Hayawak,
Hayawak,
Zarawak,
Zarawak,
Labanya Lawak,
Labanya Lawak,
Salat,
Salat,
Aisha Laham,
Aisha Laham,
Kamajan,
Kamajan,
Kasai Sara'ah,
Kasai Sara'ah,
Kayabia,
Kayabia,
Banakar,
Banakar,
Koyashua,
Koyashwa,
Nashamadwa,
Nashamadwa,
Pa'ayanda Arwa,
Ba'ayanda Awa,
Hayawa,
Hayawa,
Daman,
Daman,
La Adama,
La Adama,
Shayathamwa,
Shayathamwa,
Nadadnawa, Slaka, Nadiyamawa,
Nadiyabawa,
Ka'ara,
Ka'ira,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakaza Bak,
Wakaza Bak,
Wakaza Zamanai,
Wakaza Zamanai,
Kaunasaya Kamwa,
Kabnasaya Kamwa,
Ashar,
Ashar,
Amarwa,
Amar,
Naya Rashad,
Naya Rashad,
Lana Wa,
Lanawa,
Ah, Na'awa,
Na'awa,
Alahaya,
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 Shayathamwa,
Shayathamwa,
Kagabala,
Kagabala,
Kakwash,
Kakwash,
Lakanya Rakab,
Lapanyaraka,
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash,
Gaba Ira Ya'ira,
Gaba Ira Ya'ira,
Wakala Haba,
Wakala Haba,
Thalahat,
Thalahat,
Haryam,
Haryam,
Khan,
Khan,
Thoradapma,
Daradapma,
Basa Irika,
Basa Irika,
Wabasa Wapatka,
Wabaso Apaka,
Tabahalam,
the Bahalam,
Mala'a,
Mala'a,
Panyaham,
Panyaham,
Kwalawan,
Kwalawan,
Wayabakwashua,
Wayabakwashwa,
Shemka,
Shemka,
Yahawa,
Yahweh,
Yabashua,
Yabashwa,
Wayaba'awa,
Wayabahawa,
Aja Ai,
Aja'ai,
Wayakapawa,
Wayakapawa,
Wayabadwa,
Wayabadwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Atha, Shemka,
Shemka,
Yahawa,
Yahweh,
Labaka,
Labaka,
Ayawan,
Ayawan,
Al-Ka-Ratza,
Al-Kahal Rataza,
the Wadaman,
the Wadaman, and in the English, keep not thy silence, O Yahweh.
Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace,
And be not still.
and be not still.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumble.
Thine enemies make a tumble,
And they that hate
and
thee
they that hate thee
have lifted up their head.
have lifted up their head.
They have taken crafty counsel
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people,
against thy people,
and consulted against thy hidden
and
ones.
consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come,
Come,
and let us cut them off
and let us cut them off
from being a nation,
from being a nation,
that the name of Israel
that the name of Israel
may be no more remembered.
may be no more remembrance.
For they have consulted together
But they have consulted together
with one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against thee.
the tabernacles of Eden,
the tabernacles of Edom,
and the Ishmaelites,
and the Ishmaelites
of Moab,
and
and the Hagarenes,
the
the Baal and
the
Ammon,
Baal and Ammon,
and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre,
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
Asher also is joined with them.
Asher also was joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah, do unto them,
As
as unto the Midianites,
unto the Midianites,
as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kishon,
at the brook of Kishon,
which perished at Endor.
perished at Endor.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became as dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like a red,
Make their nobles like a red,
and like Seir,
and like Seir.
yea, all their princes, as Sabbath,
as Sabbath,
and as Amunah,
and as Amunah,
who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in
the
possession.
houses of Yahweh in possession.
Oh my power,
Oh my power,
make them like a wheel,
make them like a wheel,
as the stubble before the wind,
as the stubble before the wind,
as the fire burneth the wood,
as the fire burneth the wood,
and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire.
and as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them
So persecute them
with thy tempest,
with thy tempest,
and make them afraid
and make them afraid
with thy storm.
with thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame,
Fill their faces with shame,
that they may seek thy name.
that they may seek thy name.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh,
let them be confounded
let them be confounded
and troubled forever.
and troubled forever.
Yea, let them be put to shame
Let them be put to shame
and
and
perish,
perish,
that men may know
that men may know
that thou,
that thou,
whose name alone
whose name alone
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the most high
art the most high
over all the earth.
over all the earth.
So be it.
So be it.
And with that, I say sorry, which means to turn. Yeshabim, which means be seated. Up here, Yeshabim, which means to be seated. All right. This is the I.S.U.P.K. Sabbath service. You understand? We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street out of Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. You understand? And what you just witnessed us do, it may have sounded like babbling to you, but we were actually speaking in the Hebrew because that is our original language. Before we came to America, we had a language of our own. You understand? English is not our native language. Spanish is not our native language. Creole is not our native language. You understand? Our language as the 12 tribes of Israel is Hebrew. And that's what we were doing, reciting the 12. So like reciting the prayers in the Hebrew. You understand? Because blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans are the 12 tribes of Israel. We are the real Jews. And this is the Sabbath service. And we're going to pick up where we left off last week. We are at 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 4. And we're going to read this in the Hebrew first. And then we're going to read it in the English afterwards. You understand? You two are Barak?
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Verse 4. Wayaba'ah, Wayagad, Wayagad, La'ad, La'adan, Yawa, La'amar, Kaza'ath, Wakaza'ath, Dabara, Hana'ira, Ashar, Ma'arataza, Yasha'ala. Verse 5. Waya Amar, Malak, Aram, Laka, Ba'a, Wa'ash, Laka, Sapal, Ar, Malak, Yasha'ala, Waya Lak, Waya Kaka, Bayadwa, Ashar, Kakaraya, Kasak, Washashaf, Allah Payam, Zahab, Wa'ashar, Kala Yapathwa, Bagadian. Verse 6. Wayaba'a, Hasapal, Ar, Malak, Yasha'ala, La'amar, Wa'itha, Kabo Wa'a, Hasapal, Hazar, Alayak, Hana, Shala Kathia, Alayak, Na'imam, Ibadia, Wa'asapathwa, Mataza, Ra'ithwa. Verse 7. Wayahaya, Kakar, Malak, Yasha'ala, Hasapal, Waya Kara'ai, Bagadia Waya Amar, Ha'al Hayam, Anaya, Laham, Laha Mayath, Walla, Walahak Yawath, Kaya, Zahar, Ozuk, Shalak, Alya, La'asap, Ayash, Matazah Ra'ithwa, Kaya, Aka, Da'aiwa, Na'a, Wara'awu, Kaya, Mathan, Mathana, Hawa'a, Laya, verse 8, Wayahaya, Kashamar, Al-Yashar, Ayash, Ha'a, Lahayim, Kaya, Kara'ai, Malak, Yasha'al, Af, Bagad, Yawa, Wayash, Shalak, Ar, Hamalak, La'amar, Lama, Kara'aith, Badayak, Bagar, Dayak, Yaba'a, Na'a, Al-Alya, Wayadar, Kaya, Yasha, Nabaya'a, Bayash Sha'ala, verse 9, Wayaba'a, Na'aman, Wasawa, Wabarak, Bawa, Waya Ahmad, Pathak, Habayath, La'a Yashai, verse 10, Waya Shalak, Al Yawa, Al Yashai, Malak, La'amar, Halawak, Warak Salaki, Warak Tazath, Shabar, Pa'ai Mayam, Bayaradan, Wayashar, Basharak, Lakar, Watsahar, verse 11.
Both sides. All right. So now we are at 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 4. We're going to read it in the English now.
Verse 4. And one went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus said thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. Verse 5. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. Verse 6. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman, my servant, to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. Verse 7. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doeth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. Verse 8. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he said to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Verse 9. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. Verse 10. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean.
So right here what's going on is the king of Syria has this servant, a mighty man of valor. That's what the scripture called him in verse 1. And this cat, he has leprosy. You understand? And there was a sister that was a servant to them that was an Israelite. And she told them that there's a prophet in Israel that can heal him. So now the king of Syria sent a letter to the king of Israel, you understand, saying that he wants him to heal his servant. And so that's why when the king of Israel heard this, he tore his clothes up, because he's like, he's trying to set me up. He's like, I'm not God. You understand that this king understands that only the Lord gives the power to heal and to kill and to make alive. You understand? And so he tore his clothes because he's like, man, this cat is trying to start a fight with me. He's trying to start a quarrel. And then so like the prophet Elisha heard about this, and he presented himself, and he said, you know what? I can do it. You know what I'm saying? And the people will know there's a prophet in Israel.
You understand what I'm saying? So now we're gonna read about what happened after he told this cat go wash in the Jordan 7 times. You understand? If you could request us, you take the next 7 in Hebrew.
Kind of.
Sure.
First, 2 Kings 5 and 11. Waya kwa tazapa. Na'ai mana. Waya lak. Waya amar. Hana. Amarathaya. Aliyah. Yataza'a. Yatazawa'a. Wa'ai mad. Wakwa ra'a. Bashama. Yahweh. Aliyawa. Alahaya. Slakya. Alahayawa. Waha napaya. Waha nayak. Yadawa. Al. Ha makwa wam. Wa'asapa. Wa'asap. Hama tazara'ai. Verse 12. Hala'a tawab. Abana. Wapa rapara. Naha rawath. Damasha shakwa. Macau. Maya. Yasha'ala. Hala'a. Ha rakataza. Baham. Wataha rathaya. Wayapun. Wayalak. Bakama. Bakamaha. Verse 13. Wayagashua. Ibajawa. Wayadabarwa. Aliwa. Wayamarwa. Abaya. Dabar. Gadawal. Hanabaya'a. Dabar. Aliyaka. Ha lawa'a. Tha'aisha. Wa'apa. Kaya. Amar. Aliyaka. Rakataza. Watawa. Wa tahara. Verse 14. Waya rada. Waya tawab. Waya tabal. Waya radan. Shaba'ai. Pa'ai mayam. Kadabar. Ayash. Ha'alahayim. Waya shab. Ba sharawa. Kabashra. Na'ira. Katana. Waya tahara. Verse 15. Waya shab. Al. Ayash. Ha'alahayim. Hawa'a. Wakal. Maka nahawa. Waya ba'a. Waya amad. Lapanyawa. Waya amar. Hana. Na'a. Yada aithaya. Kaya. Ayan. Alahayim. Kabal. Ha'aratza. Kaya. Ama. Ba yasha'ala. Wa'aitha. Kaka. Na'a. Baraka. Ma'ath. Ibadka. Verse 16. Wayamar. Kaya. Yahweh. Ashar. Imadthaya. Lapanyawa. Ama. Kwaka. Slakia. Where was I? What was that?
That was
at the end of verse
16.
End of verse 16.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read verse 16 again. Slakia. Wayamar. Kaya. Yahweh. Ashar. Ibadjatha. Imadthaya. Lapanyawa. Ama. Akoka. Waya pataraza. But what? Laqua katha. Waya ma'an. Verse 17. Waya mar. Na'ai mana. Wala'a. Yathan. Na'a. La'abadka. Masha'ah, Tazamad, Paradayam, Adama, Kaya, Lawa'ah, Ya Aisha, Iwad, Ibadka, Slakia, Alha was a bak, La Alahayam, Akaryam, Kaya, Ama, La Yahweh. That's it.
Most High Christ. Now we're gonna read it in English. We have 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 11.
Verse 11.
So like right. So like
Verse 11. But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Verse 12. Are not Abana and for Paul rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage.
To show you just how arrogant this stinking heathen was. Like the prophet of the Lord is telling you what to do to be healed. And it's something as simple as go wash in the Jordan 7 times. And he's so arrogant, he think he know how the program is supposed to go. Which reminds me of a lot of you hypocrites and homosexuals. You understand? You come in here and you think you know how the school should operate, and you think that you know what brotherhood is and what people should do in here. When you can't even stop smoking, man. You can't even fight your damn sins. You don't know the program. You ain't got the answer, Sway. Yeah. You understand? Just come in here and shut up and put your brick in, man. That's it. You understand? Don't be like this filthy heathen who think he knew how the Lord's program is supposed to operate. You literally gonna show him right here. Listen, just do what I tell you to do. Keep reading.
Verse 13. And his servants came near and spake unto him and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then when he said to thee, wash and be clean? Verse 14. So verse 14. Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Verse 15. And he returned to the man of God, and all his company and came and stood before him, and he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Verse 17. And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto the other gods, but unto the Lord.
So right here, this heathen, he finally did what Elisha, the prophet Elisha, told him to do. He washed in the Jordan River 7 times, you understand? And he was healed, like the prophet told him. And he realized there is no God in the earth but the God of Israel. And you know what the heathens are going to realize in just a second? Not from being healed. They're going to realize this from being destroyed. This heathen realized it from the benefit, you understand, of the Lord. That's why the scripture, when it says, I kill and I make alive, is so heavy. Because either way, you'll know the Lord is real. You'll know he's real by him wounding you, or you know he's real by him healing you. But you're going to know he's real. In just a second, these heathens and this oppressor is going to know that the God of the Bible of Israel is the only God, and he is real. And they're going to know it through pain, suffering, and destruction, man. Right. With that, we're going to go to the next 7. We have 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 18. I'm going to read this 7 in the Hebrew. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 18. La Debar, Hazah, Yasalak, Yahweh, La Ibadka, Babawa'ah, Adonai, Bayah, Ramawan, Laha Shetakwath, Shema, Wahawa'ah, Nasha'an, Yadia, YAHANNA, Wayathia, Bayath, Raman, YAHANNA, Wayathia, Bayath, Raman, Yasalak, Na'ah, Yahweh, La'ibadka, Badabar, Hazah. Verse 19, Waya Amar, Lawa, Laka, La Shalom, Waya Lak, Ma'athawa, Ka Barath, Arataza. Verse 20, Waya Amar, Gaya Kazaya, Na'ira, Ala Yashai, Ayash, Ha'alahayim, Hana, Kashak, Adonai, Af, Naaman, Ha Aramya, Hazah, Makwakath, Mayadwa, Af, Ashar, Habaya'ah, Kaya, Yahweh, Kaya, Aratazathiah, Akarayawa, Walakwakafia, Ma'athwa, Ma'awama, verse 21, Wayaradap, Gayakazaya, Akaraya, Naaman, Wayara'ah, Naaman, Rataza, Akarayawa, Wayapa, Ma'ab, Hamarakba, Laquar Atha, Laquara Athwa, Waya Amar, Hashalom, verse 22, Waya Amar, Shalom, Adonai, Shalakniya, La Amar, Hana, Aitha, Za, Ba'awa, Auya, Shania, Shanya, Nairium, Mahar, Aparium, Mabanaya, Hanabayayim, Thana, Na'a, Laham, Kakal, Kasap, Washathaya, Kalak Bagadium, verse 23, Waya Amar, Naaman, Hawa Allah, Kwak, Kakarayam, Waya Parataza, Bawa, Wayatazar, Kakaram, Kasap, Bashanya, Koratium, Washafia, Kalapwath, Bagadium, Wayathan, Shanya, Nairayawa, Waya Sha'awa, Lapanyawa, verse 24, Waya Ba'a, Ha'ipala, Waya Kwak, Mayadma, Waya Pakwa, Babayath, Waya Shalak, Ha'anashiam, Waya Lakawa, verse 25, Most High Christ. I'm going to read it in the English.
Verse 18. And this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Ramon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Ramon, when I bow down myself in the house of Ramon, the Lord pardoned thy servant in this thing. Verse 19. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. Verse 20. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, Behold, my master has spared Naaman the Syrian, in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. Verse 21. So Gehazi followed after Naaman. Naaman, when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? Verse 22. And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. Verse 23. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged them and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments and laid them upon 2 of his servants. And they bare them before him. Verse 24. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed.
So right here, this brother right here, Gehazi, he's a servant of Elisha, and he was like, man, you served that heathen mercy and not taking, anything that he brought. And so he was like, well, listen, I'm gonna go chase him down, and I'm gonna get something from him. And that's what he did, and he got, some silver and some garments from this cat. You understand? And he owed this to him. You understand? He just healed him. This is important too. If you're getting counsel from General Muhammad, or you getting counsel from these brothers, show that you appreciate that counsel. You understand? Gifts is not a bad thing in here. We thinking of the Christian church where you don't want to buy the pastor nothing because he already robbing you blind. Yeah, he's not offering you anything. He's not doing anything for your life. And here, when these mighty men of the Lord and these prophets give you counsel, if you appreciate it, why not show your appreciation? Right. You understand? Give a donation or get the brother a bottle or something. You know what I'm saying? Find out what he like. Right. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Show these men of the Lord that you appreciate the services that they're doing in the name of the Lord. You understand? Let's go to the next 7. Verse 25. We at 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 25. We're going to read it in the Hebrew first, if you could, Barak.
Verse 25. Wahawa ba'a waya imad al adanya wa waya amor al yawa al yashai ma'an gakar zaya waya amor la'a halak ibadka anna wa na. Verse 26. Waya amor ala yawa la'aya labaya halak ka'amal ka'ashar hapaka ayash ma'ar maraka bathwa lakara athak ha'arif Lakakath, Arf, Hakasat, Walla Kakath, Bagadyam, Wazayathim, Wakar Mayam, Watazaan, Wabakar, Wa'ai Badyam, Washapak Wath. Verse 27. Wataza Ra'aith, Naaman, Thadabak, Bakar, Waba, Zarakar, La'ai Walam, Wayataza'a, Malapan Yawa, Salari. Matazar, Kashalaga. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. Waya Amarwa, Banaya, Hanaba, Ya'ash, Hanaba, Ya'ayim, Ar, Ala Yashar, and Hana, Na'a, Hamakawam, Ashar, Anakan wa Yashab Yam, Shama, Lapan Yak, Yakar, Tazar, Mamanawa, verse 2. Nalaka, Na'a, I, Haya, Hayaradan, Wanakaka, Masham, Ayash, Kawara, Akath, Wana Aisha, Lanawa, Shama, or Sham, Makawam, La Shabbath, Masha, it's like a Sham, Waya Amar, Lakawa, verse 3, Waya Amar, Ha'akad, Hawa'al, Na'a, Walak, Af, Ibad Yaka, Waya Amar, Anaya, Laka, verse 4, Waya Lak, Athama, Atham, Waya Ba'awa, Hayaradana, Waya Gazarwa, Ha'itazayim.
That's it. Most High Christ. Now we're gonna read it in the English. You understand? We have 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 25.
Verse 25, but when he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. Verse 26, and he said unto him, Went not mine heart with thee, when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money and to receive garments, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and men servants, and maid servants?
Now, this is the flip side for brothers that's in the school that don't have discretion on when and when not to accept gifts and accept things. You understand? Just how we just broke down the other side. If you're getting counsel from or anything where the brother here is helping you out, you understand? You can show them your appreciation. If you're the one who's being offered the gift, you better have this discretion and understanding and knowing there's a time to accept things and there's a time not to accept things. If you understand, just watch General Muhammad when he posts like last thing he posted was like an axe or a sword or something like that. And he said, on behalf of Commander General YAHANNA, I accept this. You understand? I've got permission to accept this because that's how we fought. That's how we roll. You understand? Because we understand you don't accept everything from everybody. You understand? There's a time and place for everything. Everything in its due season. And this cat didn't understand that. You understand? We're going to read about his punishment right here. Keep reading.
Verse 27. The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and unto thy seed forever. Yeah. And he went out from his presence a leper as white as snow.
This is the punishment that he received because he didn't have discretion in knowing there's a time to receive and not to receive. This is a UPK scripture right here because do what the men above you do. Why the hell would you come back behind Elisha and go and get something from this heathen when Elisha turned him down? Just follow what the men above you do. You can't go wrong doing that. You understand? You cannot go wrong. Just follow what you see brothers over you doing. The moment you start doing things that you haven't seen brothers do, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. And in this case, this cat put his whole family lineage in jeopardy. They became lepers. You understand? We'll keep reading.
2 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. And the sons of the prophet said unto Elisha, Behold now, the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Verse 2. Let us go, we pray thee, unto Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make us a place there, where we may dwell. And he answered, Go ye. Verse 3. And one said, Be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. And he answered, I will go. Verse 4. So he went with them, and when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood.
Most High Christ. We're going to go to the next 7. We have 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 5. If you could, question,
SHALAM, sir. Wayahaya, Ha'akad, Mapayala, Ha-Kora'a, Wa'ath, Ha-Barazal, Nepal, Al, Hamayim, Wayatazaikwa, Wayamar, Ahaha, Adanya, Wahawa'a, Sha'awal. Verse 6, Wayamar, Ayash, Ha'alahayim, Ana, Nepal, Wayara'ahawa, Ath, Hamaquam, Wayaqua, Tazaba, Itaza, Wayashalak, Shema, Wayataza, Barazal. Verse 7, Wayamar, Ramah, Laka, Wayashalak, Yadawa, Wayakwa, Kwahawa. Verse 8, Wamalak, Amar, Aram, Haya, Lana, Na, Lakam, Bayasha'ala, Waya, Wa'itaza, Al, Ibajawa, Lamar, Al, Maquam, Lanaya, Al Manaya, Thaka Nathaya. Verse 9, Wayashalak, Ayash, Ha'alahayim, Al Malak, Yasha'ala, La'amar, Hashamar, Ma'aibar, Hamaquam, Hazah, Kaya, Sham, Aram, Nakathiam. Verse 10, Wayashalak, Malak, Yasha'ala, Al, Hamaquam, Ashar, Amar, Lawab, Ayash, Ha'alahayim, Waha Zahayara, Wana Shamar, Sham, La'a, Akath, Wala'a, Shethayim. Verse 11, Wayasaira, Laba, Malak, Aram, Al, Hadabar, Hazah, Wayakura'ah, Al, Ibajawa, Wayamar, Alahayim, Halawa'ah, Thaga Yadawa, Laya, Maya, Mashalanya, it's like it, Mashalanwa, Al, Malak, Yasha'ala.
Most High Christ. Now we're going to read it in the English. We have 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 5.
Verse 5. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, SHALAM. But as one of the felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, Alas, master, for it was borrowed. Verse 6, and the man of God said, Where fell it? And he showed him the place, and he cut down a stick and cast it in thither, and the iron did swim. Verse 7, therefore said he, Take it up to thee, and he put out his hand and took it. Verse 8, and the king of Syria warred against Israel and took it.
It's like, if I could,
Go ahead, question.
We're so not used to seeing things that are just not normal. You know what I'm saying? Some as small as someone lost an axe head in the river, and then he went to the man of God, and the man of God did something, and the axe head came up.
Right.
Something as small as that, you know, it may seem like it's just small and nothing.
Right.
But who can do that? You know what I'm saying? No, who can do that but the man of God? Right. That's something that's just so small, and we could have just, you know, went right by it and thought nothing of it. Yeah. But man, look at that. Right. Man of God just did that. Right.
And it's heavy because it shows you that no problem is too small, no problem is too great. You understand? When you're dealing with men of the Lord. You understand? Don't think that, don't look at your problems and think, that's not important. That's Satan playing you. You understand? And don't look at your problems as it's the end of the world. That's Satan playing you. You understand? No problem is too great or too small for the men of the Lord. There's safety in the multitude of counselors, man. And this brother, he went and told a man of God, you know what I'm saying? Man, I borrowed that axe. Oh no. You know what I'm saying? I dropped that in the water. I borrowed that. Damn it. You understand? And he's like, no sweat. You know what I'm saying? Give me that stick. You know what I'm saying? And he fetched the axe for him. Like, it's such a small thing, but it's in here for a reason. You understand? It's in here for a specific reason. And it's to let us know that go to the men of the Lord for all your problems.
Right.
Little and great. You understand? Keep reading, Salaki.
Verse 8. Then the king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. Verse 9. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. Verse 10. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved himself dead, not once nor twice. Verse 11. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel?
Most High Christ. We're going to go to the next 7. We at 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 12. I'm going to read it in the Hebrew. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 12. Waya Amar, Akkad, Ma'ibadiwa, Lawa'ah, Adonai, Hamalak, Kaya, Alayashah, Hanabaya'ah, Ashar, Bayasha'ala, Yagayad, Lamalak, Yasha'ala, Hadabaryam, Ashar, Thadabar, Ba Kadar, Ma Shakabka, verse 13. Waya Amar, Lakawa, Waba Awa, Ayaka, Hawa'a, Wa Ashlak, Wa Akwak Hawa, Wa Yagad, Lawa, La Amar, Hana, Badathan, verse 14, Wa Yashalak, Shema, Sawasayim, Wa Rakab, Wa Kayal, Kabad, Waya Ba'awa, La Yala, Waya Kwapawa, Ha'ayar, verse 15, Waya Shakam, Masharath, Ayash, Ha'alahayim, La Kwam, Wayataza'a, Wahana, Kayal, Sawababa, Ha'ayar, Wasa, Warakad, Wayamar, Na'iriya, Na'irawa, Ayawa, Aha, Adonai, Ayaka, Na'isha, verse 16, Waya Amar, Thayara'a, Kaya, Rabayam, Ashar, Athanwa, Ma'ashar, Awatham, verse 17, Wayathapala, Ala Yashai, Waya Amar, Yahweh, Pakwak, Na'ah, Ayanyawa, Waya Ra'ah, Waya Pakwak, Yahweh. Sorry, did I just read that?
You can't, sir.
All right. Ala Yashai.
Yahshai.
Okay, so like Ala Yashai, verse 18. Waya Radawa, Alyawa, Waya Tapawa, Ala Yashai, Al Yahweh, Waya Amar, Hakab, Na'ah, Hagawaya, Hazah, Basanat, Basanawarium, Wayakam, Basanawarium, Kadabar, Ali Yashai, verse 19. Most High in Christ. Now we're reading the English. We have 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 12.
Verse 12. And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel. Tell the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. Verse 13. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dathan. Verse 14. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots, and a great host. And they came by night and encompassed the city about, and compassed the city about. Verse 15. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and going forth, behold, and hosts compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? Verse 16. And he answered, Fear not, for they be with us are more than they that be with them. Verse 17. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Verse 18. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness, according to the word of Elisha.
That's 18. Most High in Christ. This right here is one of my favorite scriptures. You understand? Because this sums up life as a Christian. You understand? As a Christian, you talk to be lustful and carnal. And so all you can see is what you see with your two eyes. That's all you can believe is what you see with your two eyes. You understand? And Elisha, he said something that was heavy. He said, Fear not, for those that are with us are more than they that be with them. And I know that the brother probably was like, nigga, what? He probably counting like, how, Sway? You understand?
Right.
When Elisha is looking at it in the spiritual realm, and he prayed that the Lord open his eyes to see the spiritual realm, and this brother was granted to see the spiritual realm, the fourth dimension, and he's seen angels. You understand? War angels all about. You understand? And that's why it's so important. You do not want to be an enemy of the Lord. You do not want to come up against the I.S.U.P.K, because you find out with the Kentucky 8, it was more of them than it was with you cowards. You understand? I want to call you something else. It was more with the Kentucky 8 than it was with you uncircumcised heathens and Uncle Toms. You understand? It's a lot. You're going to learn the hard way that the Lord is always going to side with his prophets. Always. It may not seem like it to you because your eyes aren't open, but the Lord going to side with his prophets, man. You can't do no harm to his prophets or his people, you understand, without his go-ahead.
Right.
You understand? Where we at?
19 and 20, verse 19.
If we could, Abakwa, 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 19.
Come.
No, Barak. Yeah, Barak Shah.
Verse 19. Waya Amal, Alaham, Ala Yashai, La'a, Zahar, Hadarak, Lawa'a, Zahar, Ha'ai, Ha'ayar, Lakawa, Akaraya, Wa'a, Wala Yaka, Athakam, Ha'ayash, Ashar, Thabakar, Shawan, Wayalak, our thumb, Shamarwan, Shamarana, verse 20, Wayahaya, Kaba'am, Shamarwan, Waya Ala Yashar, Yahweh, Pakaka, Arth, Pakak, Salaki, Arth, Ayanya, Allah, Waya Ra'awa, Waya Pakak, Yahweh, Arth, Ayan Yaham, Waya Ra'awa, Wahanna, Bathawak, Shamarwan, verse 21, Waya Amar, Malak, Yasha'ala, Ala Yashai, Kara'athwa, our thumb, Ha'aka, Aka, Abaya, verse 22. Waya Amor, La'a, Thaka, Ha'ashar, Shabayath, Bakarabak, Wabak, Shathak, Atha, Makah, Shayam, Lakam, Wamayam, Lapan Yaham, Waya Akalawa, Waya Shathwa, Waya Lakawa, Adan Yaham, verse 23, Waya Kara, Laham, Kara, Garawala, Waya Akal Lawa, Waya Shatawa, Waya Shalakam, Waya Lakwa, Adan Yaham, Wala'a, Yasapawa, Iwad, Gadawada, Gadawadaya, Aram, Labawa, Ba'aratazar, Yasha'ala, verse 24, Wayahaya, Akaraya, Kan, Waya Kabatazar, Bana, Aban, Hadad, Malak, Aram, Ath, Kar, Makan, Hawa, Wayatazar, Shamarwan, verse 25, Wayahaya, Ra'ai, got a wall, Bashamarwan, Wahanna, Tazarium, La'aya, Id, Hayawath, Ra'ash, Kamawar, Bashaman Yum, Kasak, Warabai, Hakar, Karaya, Yawanya, Bakamash, Kasak.
That's it.
Yeah, that's good.
Most High Christ. All right, now we're going to read it in the English. We have 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 19.
Verse 19. And Elisha said unto him, this is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. And he led them to Samaria. Verse 20. And it came to pass when they were come into Samaria that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes and they saw. And behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. Verse 21. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, my father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? Verse 22. And he answered, thou shalt not smite them. Wouldest thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and go to their master. Verse 23. And he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. Verse 25. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a calf of doves done for 5 pieces of silver.
Good night. Good night. So right here, we read about the Lord just smote the Syrians with blindness for trying to attack Elisha, you understand, and the men that were with Elisha. And so Elisha is leading this entire Syrian army back into Samaria, where we dwelt, the northern kingdom. You understand? Just imagine you blind and you following your enemy, and then you get your sight back. The Lord gave them the sight back because Elisha prayed for them to get their sight back, and then they opened their eyes and they was in the land of the enemy, behind enemy lines. Like, oh damn, we in the ops neighborhood. You know, it's like how the police used to do, and back in the days when they used to drop black people off in a Hispanic neighborhood, or drop you off in a different rival gang neighborhood. It's like, oh shoot, and now they asking, should we kill them? And this is important to understand. You cannot show mercy if you don't have power. That's the problem with our people. We are continually trying to show mercy to a people that hate us when we don't have the power to show mercy. You understand? You have to first gain power to show mercy. You understand? Mercy cannot be shown without power. You understand? And this right here was Elisha showing that the power was with them. And he showed mercy. He showed mercy to these cats. They could have killed every last one of them, but he sent them away to their master. But they turned around. Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, went and besieged the city of Samaria, what they call starving them out. You understand? To the point where they were selling a donkey's head for how much? Four score for 80 pieces of silver, and a cab of doves the feces, the poop of a dove for 5 pieces of silver. Like, that's how bad we were starving. You understand? Like, it sounds real familiar. They eat mud cookies right now in Haiti. Right. You understand? We grew up eating whatever we could find. Some of us, some of you may not know this struggle. Some of us to take ketchup and squeeze it now without the bread. You'd be so poor. Sometimes just take condiments and squeeze it in your hand and just eat the condiments. Pour sugar on the back of your hand and lick the sugar. Brother, we know poverty. I'm telling you. You understand? And this has always been the case with our people. You understand? Dealing with these heathens. Because they seek to starve us out spiritually and physically. Right. Understand? But we're going to read about what happens next week. With that, I say Imagine, which means to stand.
Love ya, SHALAM.
Looking at me like, yeah. So you would watch.
And with that, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teachers. Men of Israel, I might
salute the Torah first.
Concert. Men of Israel, gird up thy loins to prepare to salute the Torah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak Yah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak Yah. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak,
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakathah. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakathah.
Yajbatah, Wapin Yahakwadam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer first in Hebrew. Repeat after me. Abanaw, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakavka, Taba'ah, Ratazayaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratiza, Kawak, Hayah, Bashamayim, Thundanaw, Lakam, Yawam, Wasalakinaw, Kabawakinaw, Kasalakinaw, Kawakinaw, Wala'ah, Tabi'ayinaw, Banasaya 1, Abal, Hawashayinaw, Mayan, Rag, Kayat, Lakab, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Watapara, Wa'alayamin, Aman.
And in the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day, our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be.
We're going to say a cup to power. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahawashah, Babakashah, Thundanaw, Hakak, Larpa'ah, Kamagalah, Wakamarawa, Hakak, Latahah, Hamatazarayim, Hakak, Lahakri, Hamathia, Hakak, Arakawa, Hatama'ala, Lagarashun, Ba'ashem Yahushua, the water month.
And in the English, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh.
Please give us the power.
Please give us the power.
The power to heal.
The power to heal.
All manner of sickness.
All manner of sickness.
And all manner of disease.
And all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the leper.
The power to cleanse the leper.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the dead.
The power against unclean
The
spirits.
power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out.
To cast them out.
In the name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
We're going to say, bless Israel. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
Barak Lanawa.
Barak Lanawa.
YAHANNA.
YAHANNA.
Wahabaya.
Wahabaya.
Sapari.
Sapari.
Barak.
Barak. Rapah.
Magun.
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 By Hashem Yahweh Shai.
By Hashem Yahweh Shai.
The what I'm on.
The what I'm on.
In the English, Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Bless us.
Bless us.
And Israel.
And Israel.
And the school.
And the school.
Bless.
Bless.
Heal.
Heal.
Shield.
Shield.
Protect.
Protect.
Our loved ones.
Our loved ones.
In the name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
We're going to say Psalms 121. Asha'a.
Asha'a.
Ayanya.
Ayanya.
Ahaharim.
Ahaharim.
Ma'ayan.
Ma'ayan.
Yaba'a.
Yaba'a.
Izari.
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 Ma'ayin.
Ma'ayin.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
I.S.U.P.K.
I.S.U.P.K.
Shemayim.
Shemayim.
Wa'aratza.
Wa'aratza.
Ayathan.
Ayathan.
Lamawat.
Lamawat.
Regalka.
Regalka.
Yanawa.
Yanawa.
Shamarka.
Shamarka.
Hanak.
Hanak.
La'ab.
La'ab.
Yanawa.
Yanawa.
Wala'ab.
Wala'ab.
Yayishun.
Yayishun.
Shawamar.
Shawamar.
Yasha'ab.
Yasha'ab.
Yasha'al.
Yasha'al.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shamarka.
Shamarka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Tazalka.
Tazalka.
Al-Yad.
Al-Yad.
Yamika.
Yamyaka.
Yawamah.
Yawamah.
Hashemach.
Hashemach.
La'ab.
La'ab.
Yakalka.
Yakalka.
Wayarab.
Wayarab.
Balayalab.
Balayalab.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Yashamarka.
Yashamarka.
Makal Rad.
Makal Rad.
Yasamar.
Yashamar.
Athnapashka.
Athnapashka.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Yashamar.
Yashamar.
Teza Athka.
Teza Athka.
Wabawa Athka.
Wabawa Athka.
Ma'aitha.
Ma'aitha.
Wa'ait Awalam.
Wa'ait Awalam.
The water among.
The water among.
In the English, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence cometh my help?
My help cometh from Yahweh.
My help cometh from Yahweh.
Which made heaven and earth.
Which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee.
He that keepeth thee.
Will not slumber.
Will not slumber.
Behold.
Behold.
He that keepeth Israel.
He that keepeth Israel.
Shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Shall neither slumber nor sleep.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy keeper.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day.
The sun shall not smite thee by day.
Nor the moon by night.
Nor the moon by night.
Yahweh shall preserve thee.
Yahweh shall preserve thee.
From all evil.
From all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out.
Yahweh shall preserve thy going out.
And thy coming in.
And thy coming in.
From this time forth.
From this time forth.
And even forevermore.
And even forevermore.
So be it.
So be it.
We're going to say Psalms 83. Alahayim.
Alahayim.
Al-Damayalaka.
Al-Damayalaka.
Al-Thakarash.
Al-Thakarash.
Al-Thashakwat.
Al-Thashakwat.
Al. Kayahanna.
Kayahanna.
Awayabyaka.
Awayabyaka.
Yahama Yawan.
Yahama Yawan.
Wamana Shanayaka.
Wamashanayaka.
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 Nasha'awa.
Nasha'awa.
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash.
Al-Imaka.
Al-Imaka.
Ya'ara Yamwa.
Ya'ara Yamwa.
Sawad.
Sawad.
Wayataya Aitazawa.
Wayataya Aitazawa.
Al-Tazapawanyaka.
Al-Tazapawanyaka.
Amarwa.
Amarwa.
Lakawa.
Lakawa.
Wanakakida.
Wanakakida.
Magalia.
Magalia.
Wala'ab.
Wala'ab.
Yasakar.
Yasakar.
Shum Yasha'awa.
Shum Yasha'awa.
Aiwad.
Aiwad.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Nawa Aitazawa.
Nawa Aitazawa.
Lab.
Lab.
Yakadwa.
Yakadwa.
Alyaka.
Alyaka.
Baryat.
Baryat.
Yakarathwa.
Yakarathwa.
Ahalia.
Ahalia.
Adawan.
Adawan.
Wayashma'ayan.
Wayashma'alim.
Mawa Abba.
Mawa Abba.
Wahagarian.
Wahagarian.
Gabal.
Gabal.
Wa'aimawan.
Wa'aimawan.
Wa'aimalak.
Wa'aimalak.
Palashat.
Palashat.
Amishabia.
Amishabia.
Tazawar.
Tazawar.
Gum Ashawar.
Gum Ashawar.
Nalawak.
Nalawak.
Aimam.
Aimam.
Hayawak.
Hayawak.
Zarawak.
Zarawak.
Labanya Lawak.
Labanya Lawak.
Salat.
Salat.
Aisha Laham.
Aisha Laham.
Kamadian.
Kamadian.
Kasaya Sara'ah.
Kasaya Sara'ah.
Kayabian.
Kayabian.
Banakal.
Banakal.
Koyashuan.
Koyashuan.
Nashamadwa.
Nashamadwa.
Ba'ayanda Awa.
Ba'ayanda Awa.
Hayawa.
Hayawa.
Daman.
Daman.
La Adamak.
La Adamak.
Shayatamwa.
Shayatamwa.
Nadiyamawa.
Nadiyamawa.
Ka'arab.
Ka'arab.
Wakaza Abba.
Wakaza Abba.
Wakaza Bak.
Wakaza Bak.
Wakaza Zalmanai.
Wakata Zalmanai.
Kal Nasaya Kamwa.
Kal Messiah Kamwa.
Ashar.
Ashar.
Amarwa.
Amarwa.
Nayira Ash.
Nayira.
Salakit. Nayira Shah.
Nayira Shah.
Lana Wa.
Lanawa.
Ah. Na'awa.
Na'awa.
Alahayam.
Alahaya.
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 Shayatamwa.
Shayatamwa.
Kagagala.
Kagagala.
Kakwash.
Kakwash.
Lapanyaraka.
Lapanyaraka.
Ka'ash.
Ka'ash.
Kaba'ira Ya'ira.
Kaba'ira Ya'ira.
Wakala Haba.
Wakala Haba.
Thalahat,
Thalahat,
Haryam,
Khan,
Khan, Tharadatma, Basa Irika, Wabasa Wapathka, Sabahalam, Mala'ah, Panyaham, Kuala
Wayabakwashua,
Shubka,
Yahweh,
Yabashua,
Yabashua,
Wayaba'awa,
Ajai,
Wayakaparwa,
Wayakapar,
Wayabadwa,
Wayabadwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Kaya,
Atha,
Shubka,
Yahweh,
Labadka,
Labadka,
Ayawan,
Ayawan,
Al-Kaharataza,
Al-Kaharataza,
the Wadaman,
the Wadaman,
And in the English, keep not thy silence on your house.
keep not thy silence, O Yahweh,
Hold not thy peace.
hold not thy peace,
And be not still.
and be not still,
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh,
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
thine enemies make a tumult,
And they that hate
and
thee
they that hate thee
have lifted up their
have
head.
lifted up their head.
They have taken crafty counsel
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people.
against thy people,
And consulted against thy hidden
and
ones.
consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come,
come,
and let us cut them
and
off
let us cut them off
from being a nation,
from being a nation,
that the name of
that
Israel
the name of Israel
may be no more
may
remembered.
be no more remembrance.
For they have consulted together
For they have consulted together
with one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against
They
thee,
are confederate against thee,
the tabernacles of
the
Edom,
tabernacles of Edom,
and the
and
Ishmaelites
the Ishmaelites
of Moab,
of Moab,
and the
and
Hagarenes,
the Hagarenes,
the Baal and
the
Ammon,
Baal and Ammon,
and Amalek,
and Amalek,
the
the
Philistines,
Philistines,
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
Asher also was joined with them.
Asher also is joined with them.
They have hope in the children of
They
light.
have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah,
Salah,
do unto them
do unto them
as unto the
as
Midianites,
unto the Midianites,
as to Sisera,
as to Sisera,
as to
as
Jabez,
to Jabin,
at the brook of
and
Kishon,
the brook of Kishon,
which perished at Endor.
which perished at Endor.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became as dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like Oreb,
Make their nobles like Oreb,
and like
and
Zered,
like Zeed,
yea,
yea,
all their princes,
all their princes,
as Zabah,
as Sabbath,
and as Zalmunna,
and as Almuna,
who said,
who said,
Let us take to
let
ourselves
us take to ourselves
the houses of Yahweh in
the
possession.
houses of Yahweh in possession.
Oh, my power,
Oh, my power,
make them like a wheel,
make them like a wind,
as the stubble before the wind,
as the stubble before the wind,
as the fire burneth the wood,
as the fire burns the wood,
and as the flame set the mountains on
and
fire.
as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them
So persecute them
with thy tempest,
with thy tempest,
and make them
and
afraid
make them afraid
with thy storm.
with thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame,
Fill their faces with shame,
that they may seek thy name.
that they may seek thy name.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh,
let them be confounded
let them be confounded
and troubled forever.
and troubled forever.
Yea,
Yea,
let them be put to shame
let them be put to shame
and
and
perish,
perish,
that men may know
that men may know
that thou,
that thou,
whose name alone
whose name alone
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the most high
art the most high
over all the earth.
over all the earth.
So be it.
So be it.
We'll say the blessings. Barakatha Yahweh.
Barakatha Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Mayaka Allah.
Wa Mayaka Allah.
Wa Alahayim.
Wa Alahayim.
Mataza Biyah.
Mataza Bayah.
Alawak Yahan.
Alawak Yahanna.
Ha Alawak Yahan.
Ha Alawak Yahanna.
Ha Saranya.
Ha Sabranya.
Ha Kwasa Yamin.
Ha Kwata Zayanya.
Ha Kwaya Yamin.
Ha Kwaya Yanya.
Ha Kaya Yamin.
Ha Kaya Yonya.
Wa Hakwathim.
Wa Hakwafia.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Wa Hashem.
Hashem.
Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
The Wada Aman.
The word of man, and in the English, bless you Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh.
and Yahweh Shai,
And Yahweh Shai.
and Michael,
And Michael.
and the angels,
And the angels.
commanding general Yohanna,
Commanding General Yahanna.
the generals,
The generals.
the captains,
The captains.
the officers,
The officers.
the troopers,
The troopers.
and the sisters,
And the sisters.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
in the name of Yahweh Shai,
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
thank you,
Thank you.
so be it.
So be it.
We'll do the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh,
Blessed are you, Yahweh,
King of heaven and earth,
King of heaven and earth,
and all things living,
and all things living.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
in the name of Yahweh
In
Shai,
the name of Yahweh Shai.
listen to us now,
Listen to us now.
right now,
Right now.
send evils and curses,
Send evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
and punishment and destruction
to the heathen
to the heathen
that speak against
that
us,
speak against us,
thy
thy
prophets,
prophets,
the
the
teachers,
teachers,
the princes,
the princes,
the
the
priests,
priests,
the Israelite
the
brothers,
Israelite brothers,
and the school.
and the schools.
Send evils and curses,
Send evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
and punishment and destruction
to the heathen,
to the heathen,
and shake loose the treasure
and shake loose the treasure
of the rich of
of
Israel
the rich of Israel
that refuse to give to the school.
that refuse to give to the school.
Force their riches
Force their riches
to enter into thy
to
sanctuary.
enter into our sanctuary.
Send evils and
Send
curses
evils and curses,
and punishment and destruction
and punishment and
to
destruction
the Edomites
to the Edomites
and the nation
and the nation
and their drug
and
dealers,
their drug dealers,
the court
the
system,
court system,
the prison
the
system,
prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Planned Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
all the governments of our enemies,
Amalek synagogues and armies,
Amalek synagogues and armies,
Roman Catholic Church,
the Roman Catholic Church,
the Pope,
the Pope,
Islam,
Islam,
Christianity,
Christianity,
Egyptology,
Egyptology,
militia,
militia,
Ku Klux Klan,
Ku Klux Klan,
Aryan Nation,
Aryan Nation,
Skinheads,
Skinheads,
Posse Comitatus,
Posse Comitatus,
the gay
the
movement,
gay movement,
the lesbian
the
movement,
lesbian movement,
spies,
spies,
workers of witchcraft,
workers of witchcraft,
NASA space program,
NASA space program,
Army,
Navy,
Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet,
open up the internet,
and the airways, the cable access channel, and the radio channel, convict the spirit of any of thy people, that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen, that stand in the way, or try to stop us from broadcasting your word throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the planes, cause them to go to and fro through the earth, and consume them. Let the plagues shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahweh, Michael and Gabriel, come down with the flying saucers, and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahweh, thank you always. So be it.
With that, I say, sir. Class dismissed. Everybody,